Let's see, Jessie Shen, Infill Coordinator with Sacramento County's Planning and Environmental Review Division. Is there anything else you would like to say about your work? Come on up, Jessie.
This is an open mic night. It's really fun.
Would you like a quick
Yes, I have a lot to hold. Okay, I want to make sure I'm respectful of everyone's time. Hi, my name is Jessie Shen, and I am the Infill Coordinator for Sacramento County. So unincorporated Sacramento County, and we are proposing to put forward a set of zoning code amendments to streamline housing production and incentivize infill development in the county. And so I'm going to just go over it with you guys. I'm probably not going to be able to do a deep dive to any level, but you can always feel free to reach out to me, ask questions, and so forth. All right, okay, where's the clicker? Okay, there it is. All right, okay. So this set of, sorry, I'm kind of loud. Do I need this?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Okay. This set of proposed amendments was initiated by the Sacramento County Board of Supervisors in July of 2024. They had made the commitment to streamline and maximize housing and infill development by way of allowing more uses by right, particularly in the county's commercial corridors, and then taking a look at our development standards, which are standards that we hold development to, and then trying to remove barriers from there, either by revising them or eliminating them. Some of the county's development standards have been outdated for quite a while now. It's not really regionally trending in line with other jurisdictions, and so that is what we were setting out to do.
Can you bring the mic closer?
Oh, sorry.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, okay, there are 4 categories of amendments we're proposing, and I'll go through each of them. But our amendments were really informed by some background work. We looked at 8 different jurisdictions regionally to compare ourselves to see like, hey, what are we like really out of whack on, and where are we aligned on? We also reached out to our developers of the developer community to ask them like, hey, of our standards, are there any that are really problematic, or are we just doing things different from other jurisdictions? And then we also looked at the development projects that we do get in, and then looked at those for like common issues that we kept facing and tried to address those. So we have 4 sets of amendments we're proposing. It's organized by multifamily, neighborhood scaled multi-unit buildings, commercial corridor overlay, and then the administrative amendments, which are just like kind of boring, but kind of cool. And then for the multifamily and the commercial corridor, we do have adaptive reuse accommodations. And what that generally means is we're allowing adaptive reuse projects, which is generally the conversion of a non-residential building to residential uses, to not require them to comply with standards that are generally imposed on new build. So setbacks, for instance, like if you're reusing an existing building, you're not gonna be able to like move the building back or something like that. It's like, it is what it is. So we're making those adaptive reuse accommodations for multifamily and commercial corridors. And in the county, we have seen an upward trend towards adaptive reuse projects, particularly with the conversion of offices to multifamily development. I should hold the clicker now. Oops. All right, so multifamily amendments. We are proposing to allow this use by right in the zones identified. So we used to have use permit requirements for some of the zones. We're gonna just say by right if you comply with the standards. I had mentioned that we looked at different jurisdictions. We had like asked our developers like, what are some problematic standards we have? The ones I'm highlighting on these slides are the ones that are problematic. So the one thing we always hear is that our interior setback to single-family residential zones for 2, 3, 4 stories is crazy, and so we are proposing to change that. This is more in line with the city of Sac is definitely more lenient, but this is more in line with our regional other jurisdictions. Landscape screening along interior property lines, we're going to change that. We are the only jurisdiction that requires private storage area, removing that requirement. And then we are changing how we do open space landscaping and common outdoor amenities. Typically a jurisdiction says provide this many or this much space per unit. We require it for all those different categories, and so we're going to move towards how most jurisdictions do it. We're gonna say 50 square feet per unit. You can make it private, you can make it public, you can do a combo of both, just to allow some flexibility in how they want to, a developer would want to do that. All right, minimum vehicle parking. Currently we do, number of spaces is based on bedrooms. We're gonna do 1 bedroom per unit. The reason why we're not going to remove this requirement is because some of our communities don't have public transit. So we're talking about Consumnes, we're talking about the Delta. They do have multifamily zoned lands where you could build apartments. And so most of the time, this is driven by the market. It's not so much driven by our zoning code. We have heard from developers, like in our Antelope community, that the minimum number of spaces that the market requires for an apartment is 2 spaces per apartment, just because there's just no transit around. So we're cutting back down on that one. No vehicle parking requirements, and then biking, we're cutting it down too. Okay, we do have new design standards. Our board is very concerned about how we treat multifamily adjacent to single family. And so we have a design standard that addresses that. It's if your building is 3 stories or more, pick one of these options to do. Either put in one more row of landscaping, or make your upper story windows, transom or clear story, or don't put your balconies facing the single family. Did you have a question? Oh, okay. Okay, neighborhood scale multi-unit buildings. What this means is your duplexes, triplexes, and fourplexes. And we are going to start allowing these in single family residential zones. We're gonna allow these in the RD7 and RD10 zone. And duplexes are already something we allow, but we did not allow triplexes and fourplexes. And this is a way that the Board of Supervisors are trying to address the missing middle piece. Okay. Because we want these units to look single family in character, we are going to utilize existing single family and duplex standards so that they keep that look. And I'll just breeze through these. Oh, sorry. Okay. Vehicle parking is 1 space per unit. We get, like, when we bring projects out to the county, we hear a lot. Everybody thinks that people are going to park on street. So we think that if we make the development accommodate that, there will be less resistance in getting this adopted. Okay. All right, our commercial corridor overlay is pretty exciting. This is what the Infill coordinator is kind of tasked to do, is to revitalize our commercial corridors. So the vision for commercial corridors is livable, walkable neighborhoods with predominantly residential uses of all densities and neighborhoods serving commercial and retail. We have a different vision for Franklin, Auburn, Fulton. Those are generally auto-centric, auto sales and industrial. What we're proposing is to put a commercial corridor overlay on some of these commercial corridors. And what that means is we're going to bring it all back to the zoning code. We're going to be prohibiting uses that are not in line with the vision, and then having one set of development standards for all development. That way we kind of streamline the development in terms of like one set, it's easy. We also get to, in that way, help dictate how the development looks. What we really want to do is push the buildings up, get that livable, walkable streetscape, and then hopefully start, getting residential uses in there. So we're targeting Florin Road West, Auburn Boulevard North, Stockton Boulevard South, Fair Oaks Boulevard West, Fair Oaks Boulevard East, Watt Avenue Central, Folsom Boulevard, and Kiefer Boulevard. The reason why we're not targeting all the corridors is because we do have existing special plans on those corridors that are not being targeted, and we need to kind of, I don't want to say unwind it, but we need to clean up those and then put the corridor overlay on it. So they're not being targeted, it just cannot be this initial putting on. We need to like pull back and then put on. All right, so these are the uses we're prohibiting in the commercial corridors. So we've got mini storage, which is really popular in the county. We've got automobile sales, warehousing, basically anything that takes away from serving the residential character of a neighborhood, like your retail neighborhood-oriented uses. We're going to modify some uses, and then we are going to allow a single-family detached product, and then night markets and food truck plaza courts. So we're getting some interest in those, and surprisingly, we don't have that yet. Okay. And then as I mentioned, we're doing one set of proposed standards for all development. So commercial, residential, mixed use, you have the same set of development standards. Okay, so these are like the specifics of it. So our front yard setback, we have a puffy in the front where all the utilities get shared. It basically starts right behind that puffy. Interior setbacks, we're really going to try to densify those areas. Heights, open space. So open space is a little different from multifamily. We are, I guess, subtracting 10 square feet, trying to be cognizant of how these parcels along the corridor are smaller and more challenged to develop. There's no minimum off-street parking requirements in these corridors, just because they will likely have transit. We don't have to worry about it, and developers should just provide what their development needs. Okay. All right. Our administrative changes are really in 3 buckets. I'm not sure how familiar you guys are in the county. We have these neighborhood planning, or we have these neighborhood groups. It's called community planning advisory committees. And when you go through the hearing process for your private development project, if you need a discretionary entitlement, you go to the CPACs for a vote. In our code right now, a CPAC can appeal your project for free if there is like a community-wide interest and if they don't like it. So we are proposing to remove that for residential projects. That way, if it's an affordable housing project or if it's a project that provides any component of a residential, it's not that they can't appeal it, they'll just have to pay for it. Okay. $4,000 about, yeah. We have a new we're proposing, sorry, more questions? Okay. We have a new administrative special development proposed, really to address the single family projects. Sometimes we get like requests to build a 10-foot tall fence, and both neighbors want it, but in the county that can cost $7,000 for a special development permit. So we're saying for very specific deviations like fence height, or another one is like we get a carport built and then they keep getting code violations or building violations because it's like in the setback area, and we're like, well, to fix it, it's $7,000. And it's like not bothering anyone, their neighbor is fine. We're proposing like an administrative staff level approval for those. You need to have your abutting property owner agree, and then the building official and the fire department needs to agree. And we will say, okay. Questions? Sorry. Okay, and then we are also going to modify the minor special development permit and special development permit in light of the changes that we're making. So specific findings need to be made to grant a special development permit, and a special development permit is granted when you want to deviate from the standards I just went over. Since we are being more lenient, we are probably going to tie the findings for the special development permit to heat mitigation measures. So, you know, if you want a deviation from our very flexible development standards now, then make sure your common open space is shaded. Like if you provide a kid's play structure, that's going to have to be 100% shaded. Things like that. That really is like, okay, with our flexible standards, if you want more, you got to show us how you're giving a little bit then, you know, for the environment. Okay, so we're doing public outreach and we're doing community meetings through the end of July. We have a planning commission workshop on August 10th. It will be more in depth, like I'll talk more, but generally it's the same PowerPoint. And then, so after the planning commission workshop, then we will revise our standards based on public input, and then we're going to planning commission for a recommendation and then a board for adoption. And our target is before the end of this year with the current board we have now. Cool. Did I do okay on time? I did. Okay. Any questions? Oh, okay. Where should I start? I don't know. Okay. I'm going to start with you.
I have one question and a comment. The question is, do we know how many acres of infill development are available in the county, is the question. And then the comment is, could you encourage developers to use native plants instead of non-native plants?
Okay. First question, yes, we do, because the commercial corridors are defined boundaries. We could take the acreages in those and then do an analysis of like, what's built and what's not built. We could do that. I don't know if I have those numbers. And then the second question, I do believe some of our landscape standards or just generally landscape practices does encourage more native plant use than non-native or invasive plant species. Okay. I'm just gonna go like this, okay?
Yeah, you mentioned that you are removing some parking requirements, but not completely removing the requirement altogether, like the city of Sacramento has.
Yes.
So my question would be that because the motivation sounds like because many areas of the county are not served by transit currently, that we need to accommodate them through providing off-street parking.
I'm following.
So my question would be, what about that approach will help incentivize demand for transit?
I'm not sure if us changing our development standards will have that impact, but I do think that I know that by reducing it to a ratio that is not a barrier, the developers will still probably provide the parking they need. And generally, in some of our communities that don't have transit, the demand is 2 spaces per bedroom. If we get enough rooftops in certain communities, I think that is when transit providers will look at providing transit to the community. Yeah. It's like that with grocery stores too. Like they need to see rooftops before they're willing to go in. Did I do okay?
I got that. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Pizza.
You're smart.
Oh, sorry.
So, I mean, I live out in the deep suburbs, and I was pleasantly surprised to see that one of the corridors is right around the corner from where I live with my parents right now. So I guess my question is it, I know this from my scant understanding of what I saw up there, that corridor doesn't have a bunch of empty lots. It does have a lot of abandoned parking lots and just abandoned strip malls, or strip malls maybe that's to me number 10. Like, you talk more about what exactly was identified, like I said, was it vacant, not made for 10 or 10, but in general, was it vacant lots? Was it parking lots that the county wants to perhaps have some sort of transfer of ownership? I mean, I know the Sunrise Mall is basically a large empty warehouse at this point.
So the county is not a developer. We have fairly limited power, I guess, over changing certain market conditions that could incentivize development from coming in. I think you're talking about Fair Oaks.
Yeah, number 10.
That one is doing well, even though there's like stuff. It's probably, oh, sorry, that one's not. Sorry, I was looking at 4, sorry. Sorry. The hope with these standards is that if we make it more flexible, if we make it more, I guess, something can come in, that way we're not, like, the regulations are not the barrier. There may be market conditions that we can't really do much about right now through these, but hopefully with our regulations like loosening, that could make a development that couldn't pencil now because they're not paying for like entitlement fees and things like that. The bigger part of my job is to figure out how to incentivize development to come into these corridors. And so the other part of my job that I haven't started yet is looking at infrastructure deficiencies and how to get those in.
Oh,
you know, like so to, you know, like basically makes sites like shovel ready.
Yeah.
I haven't gotten there yet. I'm still working on this one. But that is the thought. It's like for the things we can control, how can we remove those as barriers so that for projects that could potentially pencil, let's get them in.
Okay.
And maybe they'll like catalyze.
So it's a carrot approach.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Sorry. I'm going to call on you first. Sorry, you had your hand up for a while.
All good.
I feel
I
really-
did the same question in
Yeah.
2 forms. The
Okay.
first, you said the seed packs, Community Planning Advisory Council.
Yes.
They can now be charged up to $4,000 to $7,000 somewhere. They'll now be fined for appealing projects that include housing. Is
Yeah,
that-
so, sorry, can I
No,
clarify really
please,
quickly?
please.
So when we get a private application, so application that needs some sort of entitlement, a discretionary one, like if they're going to deviate from standards, they need a special development permit. Those all go through the CPACs for a recommendation. CPACs are allowed to have a free appeal on any project. We are now saying you don't get to free appeal. You need to pay the $4,000 now, like any normal person does.
Is that for variances to this plan, or is that?
No, it's just any residential project. If you have a residential component, we're saying you have to pay if you want to appeal it.
So is there a standard for how much of a residential component it is? Say, is it?
If
it's
you have
100%,
one, yeah,
one studio unit
Yeah.
at the top of a Costco.
yes.
No longer is.
I hope you don't, but yes, yeah.
The second question is,
Mhm.
how does this, I love the singular standard between commercial and use types. Does this plan account or allow for compatible uses, hierarchical zoning? There was a lot of examples of what is now allowable and what types of zoning. I didn't catch all those. So,
Sorry, could you
Sure.
expand a bit about hierarchical zoning?
The model of allowing compatible uses
Mhm.
to, develop inside of a zone
Yes.
that is compatible. Say, this could be placed somewhere in a residential zone, or a
Mhm.
residential zone could be allowed to be built in, say, a strip mall, something
Mhm.
like that. There's other names
Yes.
in there.
So we will defer to the base zone in terms of general uses.
Sure.
And then we'll have our overall prohibitions and allowances. But the county's commercial zoning districts, those are LC, GC, and BP, those already allow residential uses in them. We allow multifamily by right, and now we allow attached single family, and now we're gonna allow detached single family as well. Yeah, so they're, we call them commercial zones, but they really kind of are like our mixed use if we were gonna have mixed use.
Thank you.
Hi.
I live near Fulton Avenue, which is a wasteland of car dealerships.
This one.
It's all, that's
This
all
one.
it is, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you anticipate pushback from the owners of those car lots?
Yeah, so
And how
Fulton,
would you fight them?
Fulton Avenue, we're not proposing to put the overlay on at this time. There is a joint effort between planning and econ dev to figure out the highest and best uses for these corridors. Fulton Avenue has historically been like, the two that are like, the county has been like, this is our car area, is 8 and 11. There may be portions of Fulton that could hold the overlay, but at this time, we're not proposing the overlay on 11.
So what are you proposing for Fulton?
Nothing right
Nothing?
now. Yeah,
Great.
not at this
Thank
time.
you.
There is also an SPA that is very auto-centric on this. There are plans to relook at that SPA, just not part of this project. To figure out, like, again, being informed by the highest and best use, what, should we stay with auto? Should we go? What should we do?
Well, I'm just wondering, as a city resident who's been very concerned about county sprawl and the development of greenfield land, particularly outside the urban limit line, as it was just a huge project
Yeah.
approved in the towns that many of us have been fighting for a long time. And I'm wondering, since you're getting more density by doing this, it looks like you're allowing housing in more places, and denser housing has been allowed, which is exactly what we need. Will there also be any kind of parallel thing to make it more difficult or completely discourage more of the sprawl? Because that's what's, it's interfering with what's left of our farmland, it's interfering with endangered species, it's interfering with the ability to get more transit in the county. And so I'm wondering if there's any balance.
I don't work on new growth, but I can tell you that in the county's general plan, that general plan goes to 2030. That outlines the county strategy for accommodating growth. There's 4 growth strategies in the county, essentially. There's the new growth that you talked about, up there, down there, around. There is the planned development, which is generally the vineyard area that has all the plans approved. They're filling in now. And then there's the 2 infill ones. There's the infill and the commercial corridors. And so really this is our, at the time the general plan was passed or adopted, there was recognition that really to get infill and really to get the commercial corridors going, that needed to be a proactive approach. Like the county needs to put resources to that. The new growth stuff is by developers. The county gets reimbursed for that. This stuff is, the county is doing it because we want to do it. And so it's the resources, it's the time, it's all of that. I don't work in new growth, I only work in this. So the more I can see these corridors taking off, the better for me. I get a job. Yeah.
No, I'm just hoping that that will really get looked at, because transit is needed so badly, and we can't afford to keep losing what's left of our open land either. We need to be filling the spaces that could take more, which is what you're doing. So I'm just hoping that there will be a complementary effect and maybe some policies that would encourage that complementary effect. Because right now it looks to me like a wealthy developer goes out, buys land outside the urban limit land, this speculation, and then comes in and say, oh, I have this project, and it just gets approved. And then we need more roads, and then we have more traffic jams, but the new stuff that gets built isn't dense enough to support transit. So it's an ongoing concern to many of us.
Thank you.
What's our time?
Sorry.
We're right at time.
Oh. I can talk with you offline. Is that okay?
Yeah, so are you staying after?
I do need to run in about 10 minutes, but I wanna talk with the folks that had questions. Is that okay?
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much,
Of
Jessie.
course.
Awesome. See, oh, you gotta go back. Go back.
Okay.
I'm supposed to surprise everyone. Thank you so much, Jessie, for coming out and speaking about Sacramento County. We don't often hear very much about the county here because we're in the city, but it's nice to see what they're doing and how it's, different or similar to some of the stuff we're doing in the city. And I know I'm not going to do a big shout out, but I'm going to do a little shout out. We do have a new local conversation in Sacramento County, and they're working on the timing for when they're going to meet and everything, where they're going to meet. So just keep an eye out for that if you're in the county. And I know, Maddie, you're in the county. Anyone else in Sacramento County and not in the city? Okay. So we have a couple of people. Just keep an eye out for that because it'll be coming up pretty soon. Okay. Now that we've had our Q&A, if you have any questions for Jessie, just make sure to grab her before she leaves.